Guys, today we'll test the full-wheel drive electric fat bike. It may seem unusual bike with big wheels, but in fact it's like a real ATV, which is probably able to tackle even ice and snow. Is it really so? Let's find out. Stay with us, we are to start right now. Hi guys, as usually it's me, just a voiceover, and you're watching Review Machines. Firstly, I should say this bike was bought on AliExpress, and the delivery took about 3 weeks. The seller was quite reliable and responsive, package was qualitative. I will place the link in the description. By the way, our attention was attracted by impressive specs of this fat bike. Look here. Full-wheel drive with 2 electric motors, 500 watts and big aggressive tires. These features resulted in the possibility to tackle rough terrain, and the price is quite affordable, it's about $1,000. Well, we have never ridden before any bike on snow and ice, and it was very interesting for us to test it. And guys, if you have a similar bike for winter riding, please post a comment about your impressions, it would be very interesting to read it. As I said, we have here 2 electric motors, 500 watts each of them. The battery 48 volts, 10 ampere hours capacity. The battery can be quickly dismantled for charging. Also, it can be locked. There is an indicator and USB socket to charge any devices. One of the most interesting features – wide and aggressive tires with tannins that allow to ride even on ice. By the way, each motor can be switched on separately, or they may work together. Here we see the buttons to manage it. Also we see here a throttle handle and a display. The front light is very bright, it may be very useful at night. Moreover, this bike is even equipped with anti-theft system with remote control. To tell the truth, I don't know how it works, but anyway, it's impressive. Well, I think it's high time to have a ride now. First of all, I should say we were impressed by the performance of the bike. We have a perfect conditions for test, wet and loose snow and ice. And the bike looks quite comfortable and effective in such a mess. Firstly, we were afraid that our rider may fall, but he went on ice so swiftly, as if he had ridden on a perfect dry road. As I mentioned, you can use the both motors together or separately, depending on the conditions of ground. If you are moving through rough terrain, use the full-wheel drive. On a flat road, switch off one of the motors to save the battery. And if you get into real trouble, you always may use your trump card. The pedals, don't forget about them. Though you should take into account that the bike weighs 27 kilos, that's significantly more than an usual bike, and the rolling is worse due to the 2 motors. For all that, it's still possible to use the pedals, so at least you won't carry it on your neck when the battery is dead. Well, and now I want to try the thing myself. Firstly, it was terrifying to go on bike on ice, but it is so stable due to the perfect tires that I immediately forgot about the ice. The bike reacts on the throttle so rapidly that it seemed to me that it's powerful enough to tackle any kind of terrain, though I didn't have enough courage to try it on maximum speed. And it's worth saying that it's quite comfortable on a flat road, but rather tough on a rough terrain. The matter is that it doesn't have rear suspension system, thanks to the big wheels and front suspension that slightly absorb the bumps. Then I didn't like the brakes. The bike is rather heavy and it's hard to stop it. So the brakes leave much to be desired, or maybe they just need to be adjusted. On the whole, I was impressed by the performance of the bike. It's like a real full-wheel drive winter moto ATV. Now our rider is trying to go through some roughness. Well, the front suspension works. But anyway, you should know that the bike may seem tough on roughnesses, so it's better to stand when you are going through them. Then we found a hill to try to climb on it without pedals. As you see, the bike managed to climb on the hill, but it was saying that it's recommended to have with the pedals on hills, cause the battery may die there very quickly. Then we found the clean ice to try to ride on it. The tires are awesome. The bike is so effective on ice thanks to the tires. By the way, we had to pay extra for the winter tires. Mind it if you are going to order this bike. Well, it's high time for off-roading. Let's try to go right into snow on rough terrain. Frankly speaking, the snow is not very deep. It's about 10 centimeters and it's wet. I had some doubts before the test that the bike would be able to tackle rough terrain, but to my surprise it's quite effective there. Full-wheel drive, big and wide wheels, aggressive tires. All these features cut much ice on off-roading. So we have a real ATV. By the way, if you often have rides on off-road, you may pump low pressure on tires, and it will be even more effective on rough terrain and more soft and comfortable. Of course, you should know that this bike is not appropriate for real off-road, like swamps and deep snow, but it's quite good for such conditions as we have in this video. According to the official specs, the maximum speed is 45 km/h. Our best result was about 40, but it was freezing and the battery is not so effective in such weather. Now we have 32-33 km/h, but we shot it when the battery was almost run down, so the real maximum speed is about 40, I think. And the most interesting question, the range. Again, according to the specs, it's about 50 km. Impressive, isn't it? But it's common knowledge that Chinese often exaggerate their specs, so I wouldn't stay at 50 km. Today we have had a very tough conditions for the battery. Frosty weather, hills, a lot of accelerating and so on. All this stuff reduces the performance of the battery. We had been shooting this video for about 5 hours, and we used 2 batteries. And according to our results, the maximum range is about 30 km, but it depends on the conditions of use greatly. Anyway, the total range is quite decent to my mind. Well guys, on the whole I like this fat bike. It's a real ATV in the world of bikes. It can be used both in summer and winter. It's powerful, has a good speed and range. On the other hand, it's quite heavy, sometimes it may be tough on rough terrain. For all that, this bike is definitely worth of our attention, and I hope you liked this video. Thanks for watching guys, please consider subscribing the channel, it will be many more interesting materials here. Goodbye!
This is a Chucky Beat production.